A cashier is dead and an off-duty DeKalb County Sheriff's deputy in the hospital, all over a grocery store's mask policy.
My life flashed before my eyes. And how that I'm in a grocery store buying groceries and I might never see my kids again.
Just hours ago, the GBI identifying the suspect as a 30-year-old man from Palmetto. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Bellamy.
And I'm Jeff Hullinger. The man with the gun was shot by the deputy. And John Sherrick is live with brand new information at the store on Candler Road in DeKalb. He joins us now.
The latest word we have from the sheriff tonight is that the deputy is stable after being shot twice. And the store owner tells me tonight that the cashier who was killed was a kind, loving human being who simply asked a customer, the suspect, to pull up his face mask.
Y'all know, like, this woman, she rolled the dice. And I'm not being insensitive because I think this is just terrible what happened to her. I think what happened to her was terrible. And I'm going to get into that later. But you never ask a brother to do something that he doesn't, that he's not doing. If the brother would have walked in there with no mask, I went to a restaurant that I go to. It's not really a restaurant, it's takeout, but they have a lot of great food. I went in there this morning to get breakfast for me and my wife, and I didn't have a mask on because I just came back from Pennsylvania, and they certain it's 50-50 here, but in Maryland, DC, this place is in Maryland, right across the DC line. They serious about it. People still wearing masks to get into a place. When you go in a place, they still wearing masks. And so I said, I looked around, I see everybody with a mask, and I was the only one having a mask. And I was in there for a minute, and everybody was behind the counter was looking at me. So I said to the guy behind the counter, I said, do I have to wear a mask? He said, yeah. And I was like, all right. And then I went to the car and got a mask. But they didn't want to say nothing to me. And every other black person in there had a mask. Because it's like a soul food joint run by Asians. Asians and Hispanics, soul is like selling soul food. So, but they didn't want to say nothing to me. And I was like, damn, they didn't even want to say nothing to me, man. They didn't know how I was gonna react. But I went to the car and put on a mask. It ain't no big deal to me, but don't tell brothers to do nothing, man. Don't tell them they got to leave somewhere. Don't tell them they got to do something. Don't tell them they did nothing wrong. You got to just eat it. This is what you voted for. This is what you protested for. This is what you marched for. The entitlement, the arrogance that was already there with brothers that I spoke about in 2018, 2019, that arrogance is on 10. And there's no self-awareness about the arrogance now. Before, some brothers were self-aware or, tried to check it sometime. But now that arrogance is out of control still. It's an entitlement to be arrogant and to be and to defiant and to do whatever you want to do. And this sister really rolled the dice, man. Stepping to this brother like that and just asking him, man, he had his mask on. She just asked him, could he pull it up over his nose? And he went out. I just don't ask brothers nothing. Don't ask them to do nothing. Don't ask them about and don't say they did nothing. Don't avoid them. Now and I'm not saying your friends that you know, the people you know, like you got a buddy you went to college with or something. No, just start avoiding him now. But avoid contact with ones you don't know. Like, just completely avoid contact with them. Completely avoid that. Like, you don't know this guy and you're going to talk to him? You want to engage him? He's not trying to carjack you. He's not running up on you trying to play the knockout game. He's just minding his business, or he's just paying for his stuff, or he's just in line, or he's just... he's walking down the street. Completely avoid him. Don't know. In no circumstances do you engage or talk to or create a conversation. No. And I hate to say this about this sister, because I know what happened to her was so horrific and it was terrible. And she didn't deserve it at all. And this guy was 10,000% wrong. However, sisters saved the country. They saved us. They saved the nation by bringing democratic policies and bringing critical race theory and all of this, sainthood to criminals and no bail, and they saved the country with that. Okay, so she saved the country, sister. Thanks.
Someone hollered, "They're shooting," and I hit the floor.
A wild shootout inside the Big Bear supermarket on Candler Road in DeKalb County. New information from the GBI describes how a man inside the store named Victor Lee Tucker of Palmetto got into an argument with a cashier over a mask. He left without buying anything. Then the GBI says Tucker came back inside, walked right up to the cashier, and shot and killed her.
Obviously, there was something wrong with him.
Store owner Ray Kim says the cashier did nothing to provoke Tucker.
He had a mask. She just very cautious person, so she had asked him to pull up his mask. He refused and walked out, came back in, and did that.
Pow, pow.
Customers ran for cover, dove to the floor.
My life flashed before my eyes.
An off-duty DeKalb County Reserve Sheriff's deputy ran toward Tucker, and investigators say Tucker shot the deputy twice, wounding him, and the deputy returned fire and wounded Tucker. Sheriff Melody Maddox says...
You notice how many of these damn cops down there in Georgia are black? Out there, like at least 70% of the cops are black down there. Every story we do, just all throughout this Atlanta region. And most of the police chiefs in those little towns and counties and cities are black. They always talking about damn racism in the police departments. But now, today, I guess the police did a good thing because they really needed them. And police all right today.
Sheriff Melody Maddox says the deputy's quick response likely prevented Tucker from shooting anyone else.
And he responded very well to possibly keep others individuals from being hurt.
Everyone who was there, dumbfounded.
This is a terrible world we're living in now, but you just have to stay prayed up.
Everyone who knows the cashier who was killed, grief-stricken.
She was a kind, loving human being. We can't understand. There's nothing to understand.
We are working to find out what charges police will be filing against Tucker, Victor Lee Tucker, in this dispute over his face mask, charges that will certainly include murder. Jennifer.
Terrible story there, John. Thank you so much for that reporting.
All right, Brittany, thank you. Another big story we've been following for you. The memorial outside of Big Bear Supermarket in South DeKalb continues to grow today. The community is paying their respects to 41-year-old Laquita Willis. Investigators say she was shot and killed by a customer Monday after a disagreement over face masks. Meanwhile, Reserve Deputy Danny Jordan is recovering after being shot by the gunman. Deputy Jordan is being praised as a hero today. John Sherrick tells us how his quick thinking potentially saved more lives.
When he heard the gunfire inside this supermarket Monday afternoon, he ran toward it. DeKalb County Sheriff Reserve Deputy Danny Jordan, wounded by the gunman, was able to shoot him moments after the gunman shot and killed cashier Laquita Willis.
That's something that goes, like, they just say that in passing a lot of times. He ran towards the gunfire. We take that for granted a lot. Like, we spent a whole year fussing and whining and bad-mouthing and besmirching these guys. Now, he wasn't in his cop role. He was in his security guard role, but he is a deputy. He's a deputy, so he's a cop. He was working at the store. He wasn't working a beat. He was working at the store. He's a deputy. These guys run they hear gunfire and they run towards it, while everyone else is running away. And it is kind of good that everybody, all the main groups who were anti-police the last year, black women who saved the nation, are getting slaughtered. White liberals who claim they helped save America too, slaughtered. Men of the Sun, who voted 80% for Biden. I mean, we still got to hold that, brothers. We voted 80% everywhere in YouTube. As y'all can see when I interview my friends and my family. Those of you who seen it, hit one if you've seen any of the interviews with me with my friends and my family. Everywhere in that Ock Nation channel. Everywhere is not Ock Nation News. 80% of brothers voted. 80-something% of brothers voted for Biden. And they get tore out the frame, I guess, with great reward. Great responsibility comes great, God, dog. But yeah, the groups who promoted this anti-police thing the most are the groups that are getting thrashed the most by this this crime wave. So it is. I mean, ball don't lie.
Gunman was able to shoot him moments after the gunman shot and killed cashier Laquita Willis. DeKalb County Police Major Tony Hughes worked with Danny Jordan for more than 20 years.
Deputy Jordan is what we would call a policeman's policeman.
Danny Jordan retired this past December as a major and immediately went to work with the sheriff's office and part-time as security at the supermarket in the same South DeKalb community where he is from.
And there's no other way to describe him other than a hero. His actions yesterday potentially saved the lives of so many people.
Friends and co-workers of Laquita Willis praying, mourning, remembering, grieving outside the store where she worked for more than 10 years.
Oh my gosh, she was such a sweetheart.
She was always nice and kind, and she was just trying to enforce the guy to pull up his mask.
And we're just in a lot of pain.
Laquita Willis's sister posted an online fundraiser to help with funeral expenses. To give her, she wrote, the best goodbye she so rightly deserves.
Wow. 1,748.
Both Jordan and the suspect, Victor Tucker, remain in the hospital. Tucker faces charges of aggravated assault and murder.
This woman says, so my guess is that he shot her because he felt he was being disrespected. Unfortunately, having worked many years in retail when I was younger, I ran up against the fragile male ego on more than one occasion. My heart goes out to Laquita's family and friends as they cope with such a senseless loss. And then she proves her statement by having to edit it and say, edit to add that I don't think all men have fragile egos, just expressing that I ran into my share that did. You kind of like suggesting that you do think all men have fragile egos. I think we could have think we got what you were saying. This woman says, when I first saw this, I was praying and hoping it was not her. Before I moved from that area a couple of months ago, I would go to that store often. I would wait in her line if I saw her because we have an awesome conversation. Wow.
Accused of shooting and killing a cashier inside the store is scheduled to make his first court appearance. DeKalb County jail records show over the past 10 plus years, Victor Lee Tucker Jr. has been booked into the DeKalb County jail at least 8 times. Here are a half dozen of his mugshots.
Man, that's one rough looking brother, man. Damn. That's a rough looking cat, man. And that's just in DeKalb County. Who knows how many times he's been arrested in Fulton County? Who knows how many times he's been arrested in Atlanta City? I mean,
DeKalb County jail records show over the past 10 plus years, Victor Lee Tucker Jr. has been booked into the DeKalb County jail at least 8 times. Here are a half dozen of his mugshots. DeKalb County police tonight say Tucker remains in the hospital after he was hurt himself in a shootout with a deputy in the grocery store Monday. Once released, he is set to head back to the DeKalb jail and have his latest mugshot taken. Tucker's court record in DeKalb County dates back to 2007 and is filled with misdemeanor charges and guilty pleas, leading to stints of probation, anger management, and parenting classes, and psychiatric treatment for crimes ranging from carrying a concealed weapon to battery, reckless conduct, and family violence. Arrest warrants released today show he is now charged with more serious felony crimes: aggravated assault against an officer for allegedly shooting DeKalb County Reserve Deputy Danny Jordan, aggravated assault for allegedly shooting a cashier inside the store, and malice murder for allegedly shooting and killing a second cashier, Laquita Willis. According to the GBI, Tucker got into an argument when she asked him to raise his face mask, exited the store, returned with a gun, and shot her.
She was like, my brother won't do this to me. My brother's just having a bad day from white supremacy. Living in this supremacist world and being oppressed. My brother's just having a bad day. Jeez, man. She got whacked by the same type of brother that they march in the streets for. The same type of brother that they change laws for. I mean, they don't care about the law. They just change the law. All right, no bail. Nobody getting any bail now. Or lesser sentences for violent offenders. They just, and every time it's this type of brother. It's never a square. It's never a quote unquote high value man. It's never Poindexter. It's always a George Floyd, a Rayshard Brooks, a Jacob Blake type. It's always that type of guy that they get smoked by. Yikes. R.I.P. Laquita, man.